Annie, what was that?
What was what?
That voice just now. What was it?
If you build it, he will come. That voice from Field of Dreams became one of cinema's most quoted lines, except half the planet swears it says they will come instead. Welcome to the Mandela Effect's favorite baseball movie, where Kevin Costner built a diamond in his cornfield and somehow made every grown man in America cry about their dad. Welcome to Field of Dreams, the 1989 supernatural sports film, where Tom Hanks turned down the lead role, where Burt Lancaster thought his co-star was a production assistant fetching him water, and where bright film lights made farm animals think it was morning, so roosters crowed and cattle mooed all night long, ruining every single take. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts about a movie where test audiences got so angry, they forced Kevin Costner to add 2 words he never actually said on camera, where corn grew so fast, the crew had to build a 3-foot scaffold so Costner could be seen above it, and where fog appeared for exactly 1 magical shot, then vanished forever, making producers think they'd witnessed actual ghosts on their ghost movie set. Before we step onto the diamond, smash that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes chaos about the movies that made the 1990s believe in baseball magic and father-son redemption.
Hi.
Hi.
Just wanted to thank you folks for putting up this field, letting us play here.
Hit that notification bell so you never miss when we reveal the productions that seemed cursed but became classics. Let's start with number 15. Number 15. The entire cast and crew cried at their own movie. Film crews are notoriously cynical. They've seen behind the curtain. They know which scenes required 40 takes, which props were held together with duct tape, which actors couldn't remember their lines. So, when Field of Dreams held its cast and crew screening, everyone expected the usual ribald event. People teasing each other, pointing out mistakes, cracking jokes about continuity errors. It started that way. The first 30 minutes featured the typical crew atmosphere, whispered comments about paint colors being wrong, inside jokes about missed cues, general irreverence.
What are you grinning at, you ghost?
If you build it, he will come.
Then something changed. According to Dwyer Brown, who played John Kinsella, the room got quieter. 45 minutes in, you could hear people breathing. These were the people who built the sets, operated the cameras, and knew every technical detail. By the final scene, 300 crew members were crying. We were all crying, Brown later said. I mean, we're the people who shot the movie, and it's my face up there, and we're still deeply emotionally affected by this. The cynics who'd spent months making movie magic forgot they were watching manufactured emotions. The lighting crew sobbed, the grips wept. The production assistants who'd fetched coffee for months wiped their eyes. They'd seen Kevin Costner rehearse that final scene dozens of times. They knew Dwyer Brown's blocking by heart. They'd heard, "Hey Dad, you want to have a catch?" until it lost all meaning, and it still destroyed them. Number 14. Tom Hanks turned down the lead role. Tom Hanks was the first choice to play Ray Kinsella, not Kevin Costner, Hanks. The studio approached him with the script. Hanks read it and said no. His reason, unknown. He never publicly explained why he passed on Field of Dreams. Just, no thanks. This wasn't Hanks's first baseball movie rejection. He'd also turned down Bull Durham, which went to Kevin Costner and became a massive hit. So the studio moved on.
Wherever I go, I'm asked to play, down on the field with the guys, and so it's a nice hall pass I get with baseball, so I'm appreciative.
They actually didn't think Costner would want another baseball movie so soon after Bull Durham. Why would anyone do 2 baseball films back to back? Costner read the script on his couch and immediately knew he had to do it. Here's what makes Hanks's rejection especially fascinating. During the breaks in filming Field of Dreams, Costner sat in his trailer writing Dances with Wolves with Michael Blake. So, Costner was simultaneously finishing the movie that made him a romantic lead, Field of Dreams, creating the movie that would win him 2 Oscars, Dances with Wolves, and cementing his status as Hollywood's biggest star. Meanwhile, Hanks went on to, well, become Tom Hanks. So, everyone won. And here's the casting irony. Hanks turned down 2 baseball movies that became beloved classics, proving sometimes the role that gets away is the one that lets someone else become a legend. Number 13. The director was constantly depressed. because he thought he was ruining the book. Phil Alden Robinson had everything a director could want. Sufficient budget, dream cast, perfect Iowa locations, full studio support. And he spent the entire shoot convinced he was failing. Robinson felt crushing pressure to do justice to W.P. Kinsella's beloved novel, Shoeless Joe. He constantly worried he wasn't capturing the book's magic, that he was letting down readers, that the adaptation would disappoint. Robinson, despite having a sufficient budget as well as the cast and crew he wanted, constantly felt tense and depressed during filming, according to production records. Every day on set, Robinson second-guessed his choices. Was the tone right? Were the performances working? Would audiences understand the supernatural elements?
Wait a second. Why him? I built this field. You wouldn't be here if it weren't for me. Well, you wouldn't be here if it weren't.
You have a family.
I know, but I want to know what's out there.
Producer Lawrence Gordon had to repeatedly convince him the film would be effective. Robinson didn't believe it. The irony? Robinson's adaptation is now considered one of the most successful book-to-film translations in cinema history. Critics and fans agree the movie captures everything that made the novel special and adds emotional depth the book couldn't achieve. W.P. Kinsella himself loved the adaptation. When Robinson nervously called to tell Kinsella the studio was changing the title from Shoeless Joe to Field of Dreams, Kinsella laughed. Shoeless Joe was the publisher's idea anyway, Kinsella explained. His original title had been The Dream Field. Robinson had been torturing himself over betraying the author's vision, and the author didn't even like the original title. Number 12, they irrigated the corn, so well that Kevin Costner had to walk on a 3-foot scaffold to be seen above it. The summer of 1988 brought a massive drought to Iowa. Nobody's corn was growing. The production schedule was built entirely around having tall cornfields, and there was no corn. Director Phil Alden Robinson panicked. They'd scheduled all the cornfield scenes for late in the shoot, assuming the corn would be Kevin Costner's height by then. But with no rain, they had barren fields and a ticking clock. The production crew got creative. They dammed up a creek on the Lansing family farm. They trucked in water from nearby sources. They irrigated those fields like their jobs depended on it.
Okay, you must have heard that.
Sorry. Hey, come on into dinner.
Which they did. The irrigation worked. The corn started growing. Crisis averted. Except they might have irrigated a little too well. The corn grew so fast it shot past Costner's height. Way past. When it came time to film the scene where Ray walks through the cornfield hearing the voice, Costner disappeared completely into stalks that towered over his 6'1" frame, so the crew built a 3-foot-tall scaffold platform between the corn rows. Costner walked on apple boxes and wooden planks elevated 3 feet in the air just so his head would be visible above the corn. They'd gone from, "We have no corn," to, "We have so much corn we can't see our star," in a matter of weeks. Number 11, farm animals, thought the bright lights, meant morning, and ruined every night scene with mooing and crowing. Filming night scenes requires massive lights. Industrial-strength illumination that turns midnight into noon for the cameras. The Field of Dreams crew set up their lights for the baseball game sequences. Huge banks of lights flooded the farm. Then the roosters started crowing, and the cattle started mooing. The farm animals on surrounding properties saw those lights, and their tiny animal brains concluded, "It's morning, time to make noise." Roosters crowed, cows bellowed, the sound crew's worst nightmare. Every single night scene had unusable audio. You couldn't hear the dialogue over the Barnyard Symphony.
Mr. Jackson, this is my wife Annie and my daughter Karen.
Ma'am? Hi.
Are you a ghost?
The production had 2 choices: somehow silence every farm animal within earshot, or re-record all the dialogue later. They chose option 2. Every line of dialogue from every night scene had to be looped in post-production. The actors came back months later to re-record their performances, trying to match their lip movements from scenes they'd filmed half a year earlier. It was tedious, expensive, and time-consuming. But you can't exactly explain to a rooster that this is a closed set. The final film's audio is seamless. You'd never know that James Earl Jones's powerful monologues and Kevin Costner's emotional moments were all recorded in a sound booth months after filming. And here's the animal irony. A movie about magical baseball ghosts appearing from cornfields was nearly ruined by very real chickens who couldn't tell the difference between sunrise and cinema. Number 10. Burt Lancaster. Thought Timothy Busfield was a production assistant and had him fetching water. Burt Lancaster was Hollywood royalty, an Oscar winner, a legend. At 74, he'd starred in classics for decades and knew how film sets worked. Timothy Busfield was a working actor, respected, talented, but not exactly a household name yet. When Busfield arrived on set, Lancaster had no idea he was part of the cast. Lancaster saw this guy standing around and assumed he was crew. So Lancaster did what major stars do. He asked the guy to fetch him some water and a chair. Busfield obliged. Because what else do you do when Burt Lancaster asks you for something? You get him water. This went on for a while.
Chance to squint at a sky so blue that it hurts your eyes just to look at it. To feel the tingle in your arm as you connect with the ball.
Lancaster making requests, Busfield fulfilling them. A perfectly functional star and assistant relationship. Then they called Busfield to set for his scene. With Lancaster. Lancaster's face when he realized the production assistant he'd been ordering around was actually his co-star? Priceless. To his credit, Lancaster found it hilarious. He and Busfield became friends. Instead of sitting in his trailer between takes, Lancaster would come out in 100-degree heat, wearing a wool suit and sit in a chair on set telling stories. And here's the generation's irony. The biggest movie star of the 1950s didn't recognize the working actor of the 1980s. But that mistake created a friendship neither man expected. Number 9. The Fog That Made Shoeless. Joe's first appearance, magical, appeared for exactly one shot. The scene where shoeless Joe Jackson first emerges from the corn is one of the most beautiful shots in the entire movie. There's a dreamlike fog hanging over the field, creating an ethereal, supernatural atmosphere. Producer Charles Gordon received calls after the film's release asking who created that fog effect. What company did the special effects? How much did it cost? Gordon had to tell them the truth. Nobody created it. They were filming Ray Liotta's first appearance as Shoeless Joe. The crew was set up. The lights were positioned. Everyone was ready. Then fog rolled across the field from left field. It hung there, perfectly positioned, creating exactly the mood they needed.
Even Wrigley Field.
Makes it harder to see the ball.
Yeah, well, the owners found that more people could attend night games.
Owners.
Director Phil Alden Robinson saw it and immediately started shooting. They captured the scene while the fog cooperated. Then the fog drifted away. It never came back. No one could explain where the fog came from. There was no weather pattern that should have produced it. It appeared, hung around for one perfect shot, then disappeared. Kevin Costner later said it felt mystical. The kind of thing you always hope happens that you can't count on in a movie. Some crew members joked they'd actually summoned ghosts on their ghost movie. And here's the production irony. The most visually stunning, expensive-looking shot in Field of Dreams cost exactly $0 because nature showed up right on cue and left before billing. Number 8. Test audiences got so angry. They forced the filmmakers to add, "Hey, Dad," even though Kevin Costner never said it. In the original cut of Field of Dreams, Ray Kinsella introduces his father to his family, but never explicitly says they're related. It's subtle, implied, emotionally resonant. The test audiences hated it. They felt betrayed, angry. "Why doesn't he tell his dad who he is?" they complained. "That's cruel." Director Phil Alden Robinson got the feedback and realized he had a problem. People were leaving screenings mad at Ray Kinsella for being emotionally withholding. So Robinson made a change. He added 2 words to the final scene. "Hey Dad, the problem?" Those words weren't in the script. Kevin Costner and Dwyer Brown never said them during filming. Costner asks, "You want to have a catch?"
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
But "Hey Dad" wasn't part of the original performance, so they recorded "Hey Dad" separately and added it to the audio in post-production. Watch the scene carefully. Costner's lips don't match "Hey Dad." The audio is overlaid. It's ADR, automated dialogue replacement. Both Costner and Brown also questioned the line, "Wanna have a catch," because nobody actually says it that way. "We said, wanna play catch," Costner explained, but Robinson kept it. And here's the editing irony. The most emotionally devastating moment in Field of Dreams, the moment that makes grown men weep, was manufactured in post-production because test audiences demanded it. Number 7. The film's title was changed because test audiences thought Shoeless Joe sounded like a movie about a homeless person. The movie was filmed under the title Shoeless Joe, the same as W.P. Kinsella's novel. Makes sense, right? Adapt the book, keep the title, then test audiences saw it. Their feedback was unanimous. Shoeless Joe sounds like a movie about a bum, a hobo, someone without shoes because they're homeless. Universal Studios executives called director Phil Alden Robinson with bad news. Shoeless Joe wasn't working. They needed a new title. Robinson panicked. He loved the title Shoeless Joe. It connected to the novel, to baseball history, to the entire Black Sox scandal that drove the plot. He called W.P. Kinsella to break the bad news. Kinsella laughed. Shoeless Joe was never his idea, Kinsella explained. That was the publisher's title. Kinsella's original title for the book had been The Dream Field. Robinson had been agonizing over betraying the author's vision, and the author had never wanted that title in the first place. The studio went with Field of Dreams, which was actually closer to Kinsella's original concept than Shoeless Joe ever was. The name change might have saved the movie. Field of Dreams sounds magical, nostalgic, and emotional. Shoeless Joe sounds like a Steinbeck novel about the Great Depression. Number 6, they painted the grass green because it died after being planted too quickly. Building a professional baseball field in the middle of an Iowa cornfield required thousands of pallets of sod, real grass, shipped in, laid down. The production had a tight schedule. They needed the field ready immediately, so they rushed the installation. Pallets of green grass arrived and got planted as fast as the crew could work. The grass didn't have time to establish root systems. It couldn't adapt to the Iowa soil. The schedule was too aggressive. The grass died completely. The entire baseball field turned brown. The production had a choice: rip it all up and start over, which would blow the schedule, or get creative. They got creative. The crew painted the grass green, actual paint, on dead grass, making it look alive through the magic of production design and hoping nobody noticed. It worked. On camera, the field looks pristine, lush, perfectly maintained. In reality, it was thousands of square feet of dead grass covered in green paint, and the desperate hope that cameras wouldn't reveal the truth. And here's the landscaping irony. The Field of Dreams, a movie about believing in the impossible and building something magical, featured a baseball diamond that was literally fake grass disguised as real grass. Number 5, Burt Lancaster was in failing health and felt old, watching healthy. Young people throw baseballs. Burt Lancaster was 74 during filming. He'd been a circus acrobat in his youth, a swashbuckling action star in his prime. He'd always been physical, athletic, vital. Field of Dreams would be his final film role. Director Phil Alden Robinson noticed Lancaster struggled on set. He was in failing health, Robinson later said. He was on a set full of young people who were healthy and strapping and throwing baseballs around. Lancaster had spent decades being the jock, the athlete, the guy who did his own stunts. Now he watched 30-year-olds effortlessly throw perfect spirals while he moved slowly in his wool suit through 100-degree heat. But Lancaster didn't retreat to his trailer. He didn't hide from the comparison. Instead, he came out between takes in that heavy wool suit in the brutal heat and sat on set telling stories to Timothy Busfield and anyone else who'd listen. He talked about stealing scenes in Vera Cruz, about his circus days, about the golden age of Hollywood when he was young and invincible. Lancaster's performance as Moonlight Graham is transcendent. The scene where he describes what it would feel like to hit a ball in a major league game, how blue the sky was, remains one of the most beautiful moments in the film. 1 year after Field of Dreams, Lancaster suffered a stroke and retired. He passed away in 1994. And here's the mortality irony. Lancaster's final role was playing a man who gets one last chance to achieve his dream, while Lancaster himself was taking his final bow in a career of dreams achieved. Number 4. James Stewart was the first choice to play Moonlight Graham, but passed on the role. Director Phil Alden Robinson wanted James Stewart for Moonlight Graham. It made perfect sense. Stewart embodied the earnest, decent American archetype that Frank Capra had built his career on. Roger Ebert later wrote that Field of Dreams was the kind of movie Frank Capra might have directed and James Stewart might have starred in. Robinson wanted that explicit connection. Stewart as Graham would create a direct lineage from Capra's It's a Wonderful Life to this baseball fantasy. But Stewart said no. Maybe he didn't get it. Maybe he was too old. Maybe the role was too small. Stewart never explained his reasoning. Robinson moved to his second choice, Burt Lancaster. Lancaster initially didn't get it either. He turned it down. Then a friend who was a baseball fan told Lancaster he had to do this movie. Had to. Lancaster reconsidered and said yes. Lancaster brought something Stewart couldn't have, a weathered athleticism. You believed Lancaster had been a ball player. You believed he'd made that choice between baseball and medicine. The film even includes a nod to Stewart. At one point, Corin watches Harvey on TV, Stewart's classic film about a man who sees things others can't. It's a wink to the casting that almost was, and here's the Hollywood irony. Stewart passed on a role Roger Ebert later said he was born to play, and the man who replaced him created one of cinema's most beloved performances in his final film appearance. Number 3. The voice actor's identity has been a complete secret for 35 years. The mysterious voice that tells Ray, if you build it, he will come, is the entire engine of Field of Dreams. Without that voice, there's no movie. The voice is credited as himself in the final credits. Nobody knows who it is, seriously. 35 years later, only director Phil Alden Robinson knows the identity of the voice actor. Theories abound. Some think it's Kevin Costner. Others claim it's Ray Liotta. W.P. Kinsella said he was told it was Ed Harris, Amy Madigan's husband. Robinson originally recorded the voice himself as a placeholder for the real actor to record over later. Some people think Robinson just kept his own voice. Robinson refuses to confirm or deny anything. I thought that was sort of funny, Robinson said about crediting the voice as himself. It was okay with the person who did the voice, so we just decided to keep it a secret. The voice actor has never come forward, never claimed credit, never done an interview revealing their role in one of the most quoted movies of all time. They've remained silent for 35 years. Think about that. This person voiced one of AFC's greatest movie quotes of all time, number 39 on their list, and they've never told anyone. Maybe it's in their contract. Maybe they just enjoy the mystery. Maybe they're waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. And here's the Hollywood irony. The voice that told Ray to build something impossible remains an impossible mystery, adding one more layer of magic to a movie built on belief in the unexplainable. Number 2. The final scene required 1,500 cars, driven by local extras who followed radio instructions to flash their lights. The ending of Field of Dreams shows a line of car headlights stretching to the horizon, thousands of people coming to Ray's field. People will come, Ray. Director Phil Alden Robinson envisioned this shot. During a lunch with the Iowa Chamber of Commerce, he described what he wanted, headlights visible for miles along the horizon. The shooting of the final scene became a community event. The film crew announced the shoot via local radio. They invited anyone with a car to participate. A production assistant drove from the set into town and measured the distance, calculating they'd need 1,500 cars to fill the shot. The night of filming, Dyersville blacked out the town. No streetlights, complete darkness except for the film set. Local extras drove their vehicles from Commercial Club Park to the field. They parked in a line stretching miles back. The crew hid on the farm to make sure aerial shots didn't reveal them. Then, via radio transmission, the director told each driver to flash their lights on and off. Watch the scene carefully. The lights flicker. Bright, dark, bright, dark. That's not a special effect. That's 1,500 Iowans in their personal vehicles following instructions over the radio. The shot cost almost nothing to produce. Just coordination and community goodwill. It became one of cinema's most beautiful images. Number 1, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were teenage extras in the Fenway Park scene. Field of Dreams includes a sequence at Boston's Fenway Park. Ray and Terrence Mann attend a Red Sox game. The production needed extras to fill the stands. They hired local people, including some teenagers. Among those teenagers, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Both were unknowns, just kids trying to make a few bucks as extras in a movie filming in their hometown. Damon was 18, Affleck was 16. Neither had any idea they'd both become Oscar winners, A-list stars, and household names. They sat in the Fenway Park stands, probably bored, following directions to look like they were watching baseball. Neither has a speaking part. Neither is identifiable on screen unless you know exactly where to look. But they were there. Part of one of the most beloved baseball movies ever made. 8 years later, Damon and Affleck would write and star in Good Will Hunting, win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, and launch careers that would make them two of Hollywood's biggest stars. Affleck even directed his wife Amy Madigan, who played Annie in Field of Dreams, in Gone Baby, Gone Years Later. So, Field of Dreams connected them to the movie that launched their careers before they even knew they'd have careers. And there you have it, 15 weird facts about Field of Dreams. Which facts surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know what hit you hardest. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Field of Dreams, smash that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes revelations about the movies that made the 1990s believe in magic and redemption. Thank you for watching, and until next time.